The family across the street never uses their front door. I noticed it my first week in the house. It's a small detail, the kind you only register because there isn't much else to look at when you leave for work at the same time every morning. Same street, same cars, same quiet. Their front door faces mine. It's painted a pale blue and looks well maintained. No peeling, no damage. A wreath hangs on it year-round, changing with the seasons. Spring flowers, summer greenery, fall leaves, winter pine. But I've never seen it open. They only ever use the back door. I know because their driveway wraps around the side, and every evening, just after sunset, I see movement there. Shapes passing briefly through the glow of a streetlight before disappearing inside. They never turn on lights, not once. Their house sits dark even at night, windows black, curtains open. At first, I assumed they were trying to save electricity or preferred lamps instead of overhead lighting. That felt reasonable, normal, until I started seeing them in the kitchen. Every weekday morning, I leave for work at 6:40 a.m. It's early enough that most of the street is still asleep, porch lights off, cars quiet, the sky in that dull blue-gray stage before sunrise. That's when I see them, all of them, standing in the dark kitchen just inside the window. No lights on, no movement, just silhouettes framed by glass. They don't wave, they don't talk to each other, they don't move at all. They just watch me leave. At first, I thought it was coincidence. Maybe I'd caught them mid-conversation. Maybe they were waiting on coffee to finish brewing. People do that, stand in kitchens, stare out windows. But it happened again the next morning, and the next. Same positions, same stillness, same silence. There are 4 of them. 2 adults, 2 kids, I think. The shorter shapes stand closer to the counter, their heads just below where the cabinets would be. The adults stand behind them, one with their hands resting on the counter edge. They're always facing me. I tried waving once. No response. Not even a shift in posture. I stopped waving after that. The house itself looks lived in. Lawn trimmed, trash bins out on the right days. Packages appear on their porch and are gone by evening. I've never seen a delivery person knock. I've never seen anyone answer the door. No lights ever turn on. I mentioned it casually to my coworker last week, made a joke about living next to vampires or something. She laughed, then asked which house. When I told her, she frowned. "That place has been empty for years," she said. "My cousin used to live 2 doors down." I told her she was wrong. I see them every morning. She shook her head. No one's lived there since the fire. I asked what fire. She said it was before I moved in. Kitchen fire, middle of the night. The family didn't make it out. I didn't sleep much that night. This morning, when I left for work, they were there again. But this time, one of them raised a hand. Not to wave, to point. At my front door. From the inside. And for the first time since I moved in, I noticed something else. Their front door wreath was gone. The door itself was open, just a few inches, and something in the dark hallway behind it was waiting for me to notice. I didn't leave for work. I stood on my porch with my keys in my hand, staring across the street at their house while my car idled behind me. The front door was still open, just enough that I could see the thin slice of darkness beyond it, like deeper than the shadows around it, like the house hadn't woken up yet. The kitchen window was empty, no silhouettes, no watching. That scared me more than the pointing. I checked the time, 6:41 a.m., 1 minute late. My phone buzzed with a notification from work asking if I was running behind. I typed a quick excuse about car trouble and didn't send it. Across the street, something moved. Not a person, not a full shape. A slow shift of dark behind the front door, as if someone had leaned closer to the opening and then stopped. I couldn't see details, just absence where there should have been light. I went back inside and locked my door. I watched from the living room window instead. The family reappeared in the kitchen at 6:43, right on schedule. Same 4 shapes, same positions. No lights, no movement. One of the smaller ones had turned its head, not toward me, toward the open front door. That's when I noticed the kitchen sink light. It wasn't on, but the window glass had fogged along the bottom edge, like warm water had been running nearby. I stayed home that day. Used a sick day I didn't really have. Every hour I checked the house across the street. Nothing changed. No doors opened. No lights came on. The back door stayed closed all day. At sunset, I saw movement again. The back door opened. They left the house in single file, silent, careful. The 2 smaller ones first, then the adults. They didn't walk down the driveway. They turned and moved along the side of the house, disappearing into the shadows between properties. They didn't come back. The kitchen was empty all night. I slept badly, waking every hour to check the window. At 6:38 a.m., my phone alarm went off. I didn't turn it off. I watched the house instead. 6:40. The kitchen filled again, all 4 of them, but they were closer to the window this time, pressed nearer to the glass, their outlines clearer, sharper. I could make out faces now, not details, just impressions. Eyes where eyes should be, mouths that didn't move, skin that looked stretched too smooth, like it had forgotten how to wrinkle. One of the adults lifted a hand, placed it flat against the glass. A second later, I felt it, a gentle pressure on my own front door. Not knocking, just a hand resting there. I backed away slowly, heart pounding, trying not to make a sound. From across the street, all 4 heads turned at once. They were no longer watching me leave. They were watching me stay. And behind their kitchen window, the overhead light finally turned on. It revealed a 5th shape standing behind them, taller, thinner, close enough that its outline blended with theirs. The light clicked off immediately. At 6:41 a.m., my front doorknob turned once, carefully, like whoever was on the other side already knew the way inside. I didn't scream when the doorknob turned. I don't know why. Maybe my body understood something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. That panic would be loud. That loud would be noticed. I stood in the hallway, a few steps back from the door, watching the knob settle back into place. No knock followed, no second attempt. Across the street, the kitchen went dark again. I waited a long time before I moved, long enough that my legs started to ache, long enough that the house felt unfamiliar, like I was standing in someone else's entryway. When I finally checked the door, it was locked, chain still in place, nothing damaged, nothing forced. Outside, the street looked normal, quiet, empty. The family was back in their kitchen at exactly 6:45, but they weren't facing me anymore. They were facing inward, toward the fifth shape. I called the fire department that afternoon, not 911, the administrative line. I asked about the house across the street, told them I was thinking about buying in the neighborhood and wanted to know about prior incidents. The woman on the phone went quiet when I gave her the address. She confirmed the fire, kitchen, early morning, faulty wiring behind the walls. She said the smoke alarms never went off. I asked if anyone survived. No, she said, but there was a neighbor who reported something strange. I asked what. He said the family never used the front door, she replied. Said they'd been doing that for weeks before the fire, like they didn't want to go through it anymore. That night, I didn't turn on any lights. I sat in the dark and watched the house across the street do the same. At 6:40 a.m., they were there again, 4 in the kitchen, the 5th behind them. But this time, the smallest one had shifted. It wasn't standing at the counter anymore. It was closer to the front of the house. I felt it before I saw it, the subtle pressure of someone standing on my porch, the sense of weight just beyond the door. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You can use the back if you want. The front is crowded now. I didn't respond. I watched the kitchen window instead. One by one, the family turned their heads, not toward me, toward my hallway, toward my front door. The 5th shape leaned forward, stretching unnaturally, its outline thinning as it reached toward the glass. And for the first time since I moved in, I realized something worse than being watched. They weren't waiting for me to leave. They were waiting for me to open the door, so they wouldn't have to use theirs anymore.